Right, so it is my absolute honor in this moment to be able to introduce our keynote speaker this morning. This is Noah Haynes, and I had the pleasure of getting to know Noah through our peers program. Many years ago, he participated in our virtual cohort, so I met him online for the first time. And we've continued to keep in contact. In fact, we worked together this past year in creating some updated videos for our program. And then I had very much was honored by him accepting our reach out to come and speak and share his story with you guys today. Just a couple of quick little things, and I'm not going to share too much because I'm going to let Noah share all his information as he presents this morning. But Noah is on the honor roll at Victor Valley College, and he's planning on moving on to either a UC or a Cal State in this upcoming year, studying in majoring in arts. And Noah has interests in photography and anime and loves the Japanese culture. Additionally, Noah's part of the Gryffindor house, which I am as well. So any other Gryffindors out there, you're in good company. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here to hear Noah share his story with everyone, and I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us as well. It's been amazing just to see where I met him to where he is today, and I can't wait to hear all the additional things he has to share. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Noah, so if we can give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Roundtree. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and I'd like to, again, thank Ms. Roundtree for having me, and also for CA Help for thinking of me. Now, this might sound strange to some of you, but I would say that my experiences with autism start with coffee. Let me explain. When my twin brother and I were very young, we would wake up every morning at 6 a.m. without fail, much to our parents' dismay. And eventually, when our parents did come out, they would go out there to the living room, sit down on the couch, and drink their coffee. And I remember I would always come up to my mom, and I would ask her in this same sort of voice, "Can I taste your coffee?" And she would give me a little sip, and as you would expect from any 2-year-old to react after having a sip of ultra mega bitter coffee, yum. I wasn't really a normal 2-year-old. You might be thinking to yourself, what does that have to do with autism? Well, to be quite frank, not a whole lot, but it does come back, and I assure you it will be worth remembering. So what does have to do with autism? Well, there were plenty of early signs. For example, I was not a very verbal 2-year-old. In fact, sometimes I would say that I'm still not very verbal, as much of an oxymoron as that is, given that I'm speaking here today. In fact, my mom would always joke that my twin brother was sort of the spokesman between the two of us, and whenever he would ask for something, I would just stand there next to him, nodding, moral support. When I did speak, I would often stop in the middle of a word, like this. Also, during kindergarten and first grade, I remember we would be handed out math worksheets, and by the time the other kids were pretty much already done with their sheet, I was still struggling with the first row. So this one time, we were handed out subtraction sheets, and by this time I was good at addition, but I still had some problem with subtraction. So I took that minus sign, I drew a little line in the middle, and turned that bad boy right into a plus sign. For maybe the first time, I'd finished the whole page. Sadly, my teacher was not as thrilled with my powers of adaptability. Oh well. Another thing that didn't always feel right to me was physical touch, hugs specifically. I think for the most part, I was fine with being hugged, but for whatever reason, me hugging someone else was kind of foreign to me. I also, to this day, have some pretty wild dyslexia. Oftentimes, I would flip words or even butcher entire sentences. It's probably also worth mentioning, there you go, there's an example. It's probably also worth mentioning that up until this point, we were public schooled, but then from second grade and beyond, all the way until college, we were homeschooled. And because of this, there wasn't a real feeling of being different, because there wasn't really anyone to compare myself to. And so, many years later, in the distant age of 2016, my twin brother and I were diagnosed. And I found out that I had autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and dyscalculia. Now, at the time, I didn't really know what it all meant, but what I could understand was that the doctor said that I could drink coffee to help me with my ADHD and let me focus easier. Aha, I knew it would come back. And with this, I rejoiced at this news. I went and poured myself a cup, gave it some creamer, took a few sips, and kind of set it down for the rest of the day. Sometimes when you want something so bad and for so long, and you finally get it, you might realize that it wasn't all that. So, for this next chapter, I knew I was neurodivergent, but I didn't exactly know neurodivergent how. And on top of that, I would soon be facing one of the most daunting learning experiences I had seen yet. And no, it wasn't puberty. How many of you thought it was puberty? Raise your hand. The funny thing, I don't actually have a whole lot to say about puberty. I think it went pretty smooth. I didn't really notice the changes as they were happening. So there weren't any hormonal rages, no change panics, and sadly no emo phase. Some of you might breathe a sigh of relief at that last one. But just to be clear, what was about to happen wasn't much more favorable than an emo phase. In fact, you should congratulate my mom and dad for getting through it. Who here is dying to know what this mystery learning experience is? Raise your hand. All right. Well, let's not waste any more time. It's community theater. Let's give it up for the performing arts. So here's the thing. My brother and I took part in many homeschooling co-ops before, but this was different for one reason. We would be seeing the same set of peers day in, day out for so long. It was much more of an interaction-intensive environment. This was something that we never really had to face until now. And let me tell you, it was daunting. But at the same time, there was something really exciting about it. So with that, we auditioned for a little-known production called Frozen Junior. And we totally nailed the audition and landed our parts. I was cast as one of the two guards in blue. This is me. And my twin brother, in white, was cast as the king. And they put facial hair on me because obviously we were identical twins, and they didn't want someone seeing one character and seeing, oh, hey, wasn't that the other person? We were so excited, and with that, it was off to the rehearsals. And it was at the rehearsals I found something out about myself. I really did not know how to be very social, at all. And this is by no means anyone's fault. I had good intentions. It's just that I didn't always really know how to tell if something was better left unsaid. I never knew really how to join a conversation, and oh my goodness, for the life of me, it felt like everything I said turned into a left-hand compliment. I still wince thinking about it to this day. I'd like to shout out to my former cast for having so much patience with me. Looking back, at least for me, I don't think there were any real barriers to feeling like part of any groups. It was more so of a not knowing how to integrate with them. But I did have my moment. After the very last show, the whole cast went to this restaurant and got this really long table, and we all sat together, and it was a really nice moment. Just a bunch of kids being themselves after months of hard work. And somehow in that moment, the barriers, the anxiety, they were gone, and I could just talk to them. It was such a nice moment. Oh, I already said that. I remember it was such a glorious moment, and I finally felt seen. I think really the thing that helped the most was to just get out there and do the dang thing and assert myself as part of the cast. Not that that's exactly an easy thing to do, of course, but with patience, determination, and some time, I was able to do it. Of course, this wouldn't be the last time I struggle with socialization. After all, these things take years of experience, perseverance, and struggle. In fact, it was CA Help's Peers program, as Mr. Roundtree mentioned, that helped me temper those skills. The Peers program, for anyone who wasn't already aware, is a program made for kids who are on the spectrum that helps them develop the skills needed to make friends. And at the time, usually, it would be in person. But this was at the tail end of the pandemic, so it was all online, save for the last day where we would meet everyone in person for the first time. And once again, I was very much in the background and I didn't really speak up a whole lot. And I remember this one time, well, there were a few times in the program, we would have to call another peer in the program. And I remember this gave me so much anxiety that when I accidentally gave whoever I was trying to call the wrong number, I was actually relieved when our time to chat came and went. Yeah. Despite my social anxiety, it still gave me the much needed experience to further my ability to socialize. And in fact, by the time the last day rolled around and we met everyone in person, I actually felt fine around the others. I could talk to them and listen to them just fine. Also, if it weren't for the Peers program, I likely wouldn't have had the opportunities that I have today. Like again, when the time came around to record new Peers videos and also this keynote, I was flattered when I would ask when they reached out to me with these things. And I also have an example of one of the videos that we recorded. And this is me and my twin brother. Again, this is me on your right. Nathan is on the left. It's a little quiet. Can we turn it up a bit? Yeah.
Do you want to pause it for 1 second?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Nope. Okay. No, that's not right. Here we go. There we go.
All right. Cool. Good job there. Nice. I got some pause to my left. Yeah. I'm fine. There you go. Okay. Yeah. There you go. We're gonna reload. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. Right there. Nice. Right there. Okay. I'm done. Okay. Okay. I see the strider. Use your eagle, not mine. Okay. Yeah. Let me just. There we go. I threw it. All right. Oh, direct hit. Yeah. Effective. Yeah. All right, last one. All right, yeah. Come on, get in here. Okay, yeah, here we go. I'm gonna get rid of some of these guys on our stuff. All right, yeah. Oh, Okay, right there, right there, right there. Yep, got him, got him, got him. Nice. Yeah, yeah. Good game, good game.
Okay. Oh, can we turn it down a bit because this next video is a little loud? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's take a second to roll back by a bit to when the Peers program concluded, when I was in it. By this time, the Peers program concluded, I felt like I really had the beginning of something. Like I was that much more ready to get out there in the world. And good thing too, because the opportunity was just around the corner. Enter community college. Fall of 2022, the world was just recovering from COVID-19, so this was my first time getting out there in a while. And there were so many topics to explore, so many new people to meet, and I didn't really want to overwhelm myself for my first semester in community college, and I didn't want to do a lot of hard classes right off the bat. In fact, my biggest concern was to just get a feel for it. So I chose to take beginning photography, sociology, and college algebra. Real easy classes, real snoozers, I know. Now immediately, I was faced with a challenge. College algebra was actually pretty hard. Oh, well, that's no surprise. I think it was a little bit of a case of not having the right teacher for me. More and more, it was looking like I would have to drop this class. And I was really determined not to cut this loss. I didn't want to accept defeat, essentially. But the thing about that is that it wasn't really a defeat at all. I could just take it again next semester. So eventually, I dropped the class, and I took it the following year. That year would also prove to be particularly difficult, but certainly not impossible. Looking back, it was a direct opportunity to overcome my dyscalculia. At the beginning of the class, I was having a pretty hard time remembering quadratic equations and all that. And I felt like I was really falling behind, or that I would fail the class entirely. So, seeing as I had no other alternative, I did the one most powerful thing a college student can do. And that's to ask the professor for help. Can I get an amen? Thank you. Anyway, I was told that I could go to the math center, a quiet place to study with math teachers on standby should you need them. And looking back, I remember that I practically lived in the math center. Seriously, I think I logged like 100 hours, not even joking. In fact, this is kind of the minimum, this is like being generous. I think I logged like 100 hours minimum in the math center. And I passed the class with flying colors. Sure, it was still difficult. It was exhausting at times, but I'll always have that A on my transcripts. So I guess the moral of this particular tale is that retreat doesn't necessarily mean defeat. And I also couldn't have done it if I hadn't used self-advocacy. Speaking of what I learned, I'd say that one of the most important things I've learned so far is patience. I suddenly had classes in the 3-hour range, so you could say that I had a lot of practice with it. And I learned ASL, which I think is pretty cool. I'm not fluent yet, but I think I still have a pretty good foundation to work with. Fun fact in all of this, I knew, before I wrote this speech, I knew I was autistic and that I had ADHD. But I never actually stopped to wonder what it all meant. So this has actually been a learning experience for me too. And as a person with autism, I think the one thing that helped me the most is persistence. But also, for the social field, what helped me just as much was sort of places where the circle appears is pre-assigned. Let me explain. There's this really cool website called OutSchool, and you might have heard of it. OutSchool, it's called OutSchool. OutSchool is an online platform that offers supplementary classes for ages 3 to 18. And the best part of these classes is that there are plenty of classes that aren't textbook subjects. You can have classes where you write short stories with others, you role play in Minecraft and go on an adventure, as well as straight up Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. And there were also social hours. There were social hour classes where I could just hang out with a bunch of peers. No need to break any walls to get in. We would literally just chat. We would talk about how our day went, what our interests were, anything we wanted. This was especially helpful because before I would struggle with breaking the sort of barrier to get to the inside of a circle, now I could just be dropped into one, no problem. Highly recommend OutSchool, and I would like to shout out to my mom for finding it. I owe almost all of my experience in the social field to my mom, my dad, and OutSchool. So let's recap. What once may have been roadblocks become opportunities for perseverance. When I was struggling to feel included, my best bet, at least for me, was to never stop trying. On the other side of the spectrum, when I was terrified of interaction, my most potent remedy was to just gain some familiarity with those around me. When I could see that I was starting to fall behind in my classes, I put down some serious time and effort to ensure a passing grade. When I was little, whenever I would have to write, I would just stare at a blank page. Just 2 sentences were a struggle. Now I'm in college, and I'm writing essays. I mean, the essays are still hard, but that's just because they're essays. No longer because I can't physically write them. And I wrote this whole speech, something that I could not have possibly fathomed before. And from this speech, I boil my success down to 3 key factors. Persistence. Never stop trying to achieve what you want. Never be deterred by failure. Eventually, you will find what helps. Eventually, you will figure out that piece of the puzzle. Eventually, you will get it right. Experience. Get out in the world and meet new people. You might even find a road to success that you haven't even considered. I also have my mom and dad to thank for this one. They put me in opportunities to gain the experience that I would need to someday put myself in those opportunities to gain that experience. Lastly is patience. I wouldn't be surprised if this makes someone groan, but it really works. You won't always get something the first try. You won't always be right the first time. You can't always shine right out of the box. I guarantee you, for every hole-in-one that is so glorious, there have been a ton of less glorious misstrokes that came before it. What I'm saying here is be patient with yourself. Be patient with others. Be patient with the world. But also be aware that there's a fine line between patience and inaction. Don't be afraid to act quickly on something. thank you so much for having me. Now, I would like to open up some time for questions if anybody has any.
Can I borrow this for a second? So, let's go ahead and give Noah another round of applause. I do know that we have some time, and Noah and I had discussed this beforehand, that he may be open to answering a few questions if our audience has any questions. Would that be okay, Noah?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Does anyone have a question? Yeah.
Hi, I have a question. I know you said you started off, I think you were in public school to start off and then you went into homeschooling. Can I ask why that change happened? Was it related to, oh, I'm sorry. No. Okay. So I was asking, because Noah mentioned that he was in public school in junior and first grade, and so I asked how that change to homeschool was made, or what influenced that decision?
So, I think what influenced the decision, thank you. So what influenced the decision was that my brother and I, we had autism, and we were kind of like not keeping up with the rest of the class. So I think my mom and dad, sorry, made the decision to homeschool us so they would be more involved with the process. Yes, over there.
Take him the mic. I'm gonna have you repeat. Sorry, he can't hear you.
So my question is, I know that you were, diagnosed with autism, but how did you know you also had ADHD and dyslexia and everything, all the other symptoms?
So we were, is my understanding, because we were pretty young at the time. Well, we weren't that young, but like, it's my understanding that we were kind of diagnosed for all of these things at once by an expert. And so, of course, as I mentioned before, I was still a bit too young to really grasp these things. And I kind of knew that they were there. I just didn't entirely know how they affected me up until now, when I really kind of took some time to kind of look back and see how they would affect me.
Thank you. Thank you.
My first question is, how old were you when you and your brother were diagnosed?
My brother and I, it was in 2016, so I believe we were 12.
Okay, so I was just wondering, do you feel like if you had a diagnosis at a younger age, my daughter got diagnosed at 3 going on 4. So if you had been diagnosed at a younger age and had earlier intervention, do you feel like that would have made any difference from like 4 to 12 years old?
Well, I mean, of course it would. Of course it would probably make a difference, but at the same time, I'm satisfied with where we are at in this whole autism adventure, at least where I am at. And honestly, I probably wouldn't really change it if I had the opportunity, because like this has actually brought me to some pretty awesome places, like to the peers and to delivering this keynote. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I know there's a question here in the back. Sorry, I'm trying to get multiple mics so I don't have to keep running it back and forth. But that one doesn't seem to be turning on. Can you see if you could get that one on? No, can I borrow yours again for
Yes,
a
of
moment?
course.
Thank you. So I know can you turn this one on for me? Thank you.
Hands.
We had a question back here, and then we have one up here in the front.
Well, wonderful job on your presentation.
Thank you.
Do you do your PowerPoint? Right, is that your major, like photography and
Oh, this image here?
making and that?
No, these are all stock images that I found.
But, so she's asking, did you put the whole presentation together
Oh.
yourself?
Yes, I did.
Wonderful job.
Thank you.
So for sure that you're really good at that.
Excuse me?
And thank you for your presentation. I actually have a 22-year-old daughter with ADHD and dyscalculia. She doesn't have dyslexia, she doesn't have autism, but I want to make sure she sees your presentation because I think you're going to give her a lot of hope.
Well-
She considered going back to college because she graduated in 2020. She said COVID stole her graduation and it was really hard for her to go back to college during Zoom. She doesn't do good with Zoom meetings and classes. And so I'm pretty sure with this presentation, you're gonna encourage her more to go actually back to school.
Yes,
You
and
did a wonderful job.
thank you. And to that, I would say college is already, like, it's not impossible, but it is still pretty hard. So I can't imagine having to do it through Zoom. Like, geez, my kudos for her to even being able to do it in the first place.
Does this mic work? No? Dang. Okay, I'm gonna borrow your mic again. So I know we have a question over here. I do want to add too, Noah did make the presentation. He even did the video editing for the video that you saw related to his community college experience and all of the different pieces as well, so.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to make.
My question was, is there a age minimum or a age maximum for the peers program?
Oh.
And how does one sign up for the peers program?
Noah, do you mind if I answer this one?
Of course. I
Okay.
was thinking of that,
Yeah.
actually.
So the PEERS program is a social skills program that we do offer through our Desert Mountain SELPA. There are other individuals that are offering it as well. It's currently set up for ages 12 to 22. We do hold it in person in the high desert. So it is open to anyone that is interested in participating. We do have a referral form as far as going through that process. It's not something that's currently shared with you guys, but it's definitely something that I can go ahead and add to the resource section on the Canvas so you guys have access to it if you are interested. I'll put the referral as well as the flyer so you have that information, but you can also contact me if you'd like some more information outside of the scope of our conference today. My contact information is also listed on the conference overview page at the very bottom, so I can share that with you. Since we're talking about peers, and Noah and his brother Nathaniel were a huge part in us updating those videos, I do want to share with you guys that on the resources, you have a link tree to resources for autism, and within that link tree are the updated social skills videos that we did. They're free for everyone to access. Both of them did a fantastic job in coming in and working together with us and telling us, right, these are the pieces that work, these are the pieces that we should really consider and take into consideration as we put those together, but really going through that process. So thank you again for that.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's another question out there pending. I do have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm wondering if there's something that you can share with our group here as to, so I see your three key pieces, right? The persistence, the experience, and the patience, right? As you're going through and doing that, or any individual would be doing that, what could you maybe recommend or offer as a suggestion for those that are on the other end, right?
Oh, I see.
Interacting with you or being in that position of being supportive. So thinking back to what you shared with your community theater folks, right? As you're going there and you thank them for how they interacted with you, but what are some of the things that might be helpful for someone on the other end to know? Yeah, do you have something that you could share for that?
Yes, I do, in fact.
Awesome.
So I think really, like, I was kind of struggling to feel like part of the group. So I think by that sort of logic, what would have really helped is someone basically just reaching out and making me feel part of the group. Like, I remember there was this one time during our first, well, not during our first show, but before our first show, before any of the audience had arrived, and it was just the crew, cast and crew, the cast just in the theater, you know, going over tech, all of that. And I think his name was Joshua. He was cast as like the Pope, where he says the shaking lines of, "I now present to you Queen Elsa of Arendelle." And that was a really, the way he said it would always like give us such chills. It was a very nice scene. But anyway, I remember I was sitting in one of the seats in the lobby, and I probably was in that sort of position where you have your head down, sandwiched between your hands, and I was just like radiating waves of like anxiety, because I had never been on stage like this before. And he just kind of sits down next to me, and he asks, "Oh, nervous?" And I say, "Yes, I am pretty nervous." And all that he really said to me was, "Well, the theater lights kind of drown out the audience, so it's not that bad once they go up and you can't really see the audience." And I can't remember if he said anything else, but like, I remember when he just like basically talked to me, acknowledged what I was sort of going through, that in itself really alleviated a lot of my anxiety. And it was kind of crazy. I was just like refreshed in a sense. So yeah, external, reaching out to someone who you can see might be struggling or maybe not very active in this sort of group would help tons, actually.
Hello, so I had a question in regards to identity first language. I know that there are people in the community who like to present themselves as autistic, and some who like to say they're a person with autism. My daughter is on the spectrum and she's 6 years old. Right now, in social spaces, I kind of like to disclose that to people, so I feel like it bridges a gap. I'm wondering how you feel about that as you move through school, in college, if you like to disclose that, or if you don't feel like it's necessary.
Yes, well, for the most part, I didn't really. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So like, there were times where, again, at this moment I was fairly young, not like little or anything, but like, sometimes I would kind of forget that I had autism and ADHD or all that, or maybe it's just kind of a more so of a not really, kind of forgetting that there's a word for it. So I didn't really put that foot forward in a sense. I guess you could just say that I was more so just kind of go up to someone and say, "Oh, hey there," you know, and that's more of something that I probably mentioned later when when we get to it. Not that you should do that, it's just that that's kind of how I would do it. Of course, it's different for everyone. Someone might like person first, someone might like, what was it, like identity first? Identity first. I know for one thing in the deaf community, a lot of them are identity first, because being deaf and going through life despite being deaf is kind of like a sense of pride And then there are other people who like person first and, you know, kind of less of a difference, I suppose.
So no, it sounds to me, and I was listening to you as you were talking, you did refer to yourself as a person with autism, right? So it sounds to me that's how you refer. But I'm also listening right now, and I'm feeling like you rather just be known as Noah. So you go up and I'm Noah, and then once we talk and we interact and we do things, if there's a reason for me to share additional information, and when I'm comfortable, I'll share it. Does that sound?
Yes, of course. I think it's also kind of a factor of that I don't exactly have a preference. So literally whichever one I say first is just how it goes.
I think that's a great point, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Noah out there in the audience? All right, so Noah, I do want to give you a little gift from us as a thank you.
Oh my
for
goodness.
coming. So for you
Oh.
and for your coffee.
Oh my gosh, it's huge. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, yes, thank you. I can probably speak on behalf of everyone here. It was very awesome hearing your story and just listening to you come and share with us. So,
It was-
much appreciated.
Thank you. It was so great to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you to all of the factors that put me here today.